Hey everybody, I get this question really frequently where someone comes to me and they say, "Hey, I'm not profitable, or I'm bouncing around profitability. What should I do? Right? What's the plan? What's the playbook? Uh, what are the first things that I should do? Maybe what's the fastest way to get there?" So there's no such thing as mass advice, right? One size fits all advice may not be a real thing, but I'm going to share some things that I would suggest to most people that come my way, and maybe suggest a few situations or nuances that might make sense to think about these things. So let's just jump right in. Quick word on profit mastery. Some people familiar with us, some are new to us. We've been around for 40 years, big alumni base who have been through our financial curriculum. It's really, really comprehensive stuff. We do regular webinars, some free to all, which is what you're on now. These are broad surface level discussions, just kind of chatting on various topics that are top of mind for us. And then we do these deep dive webinars, which are usually longer and have some kind of a tool in them. We'll like demo how to do something within the financial side of your business, or in assessing various financial statements, financial analytics, that sort of thing. So deep dive, very, very tactical. So today, lacking profit, right? So not profitable, but we want to get there. How do we do it? What are the things that we should do? So I just wanted to start with just a general warm-up question for you to think about. You don't have to answer it, but I'm curious. I'm curious when people think about, I'm not there, I want to be there. What's the best way to get there, right? And you'll notice there's no none or all option on here. So grow revenue, cut overhead, increase cash flow. Which one of these three are you doing if you're trying to go from not currently profitable to profitable over whatever time frame? So that's the warm-up question. We're going to come back to that. All right, just pause, think about that as we go through these next couple of notes. So I went a little bit overboard on this one. So the title was four things. Try four things, and I had five. Right. So does that count? Can we do that? This is my quick fixed list. So if I'm looking at a company and I don't know the nuances of their business or their situation, and they say, "Hey, how do I get to profitability? Where should I start?" This is probably the 5-point list that I would put together for them. First, check in on their situation, right? What does the runway look like? Talk about that in a minute. Find the crown jewel. This is like one of my favorite business concepts ever, and it's pretty overlooked. So I'll touch on that one in a minute too, but I think that one's really pretty cool, and applies to just about every business out there. Review pricing strategy. This is one of those easier levers to pull if you're not profitable, with some caveats to it, but pricing definitely on the list. Break even, I think about that more from the context of understanding your cost structure than actually just knowing what your break even level is. But if you're not profitable, you probably want to know what your break even sales number is, because that's the number you need to get to, right? That's the actual end game. So it's helpful to know that. And then last, just doubling down on sales and marketing. So if you're not profitable yet, and you know that profitability is here from a revenue standpoint, then you need to do some things that may either be uncomfortable or not scalable to get there. So doubling down on those sales and marketing efforts, absolutely got to be on the list if you're trying to hit break even or better than break even. So situation slash runway, two kind of different things. First, if you come to me and you're not profitable and you say, "How do I get there?" then I want to know how much time you have, right? How much time do you have to execute that? So there's two kinds of business that are out there. There's the kind of business that's just bleeding, right? Steady, sustained losses. Cash flow is outbound only, really burning a hole, and they only have so much cash on hand. So knowing what your runway is, is incredibly important, right? So you want to make sure that you've got enough time to put, like, you need to know whether you have enough time to be methodical about building a profitability plan, or if you need to take like really rapid action to get there fast. So to me, the situation could be if you're in, a startup versus an established company, right? If you're still landing your first few customers, then yeah, you've got a different path to profitability than a business that's, been around for 40 years with several million in revenue. Just a totally different situation to attack. A highly levered company versus an unlevered company, yeah, profitability matters quite a bit more if you've got a big pile of debt that you need to navigate too, right? And then, like I said, just that, are you bouncing around profitability or are you sustainably losing money? So I think about a company that's, break even some months, losing money some months, maybe slightly profitable in other months. Not ideal, but also, you don't have 30 days to figure it out or you're toast. So very, very, very different situations. And you really need to know what your situation is before you can start saying, all right, what are the levers I need to pull today? Runway, just cash. Well, could be cash plus available resources. So if you've got like a line of credit, or if you've got personal funds that you can, funnel into your business to help you get to that profitability point, like just knowing what your runway is to execute the plan. This kind of dictates the path that you'll take from here, knowing that situation, knowing that runway. It's easy to overlook this, but this is really a pretty key first part of the process before you can just jump straight into like, ripping things apart in your business. Highly recommend not doing that. Crown jewel, this is my number 2 suggestion. And every business has a crown jewel within it. And what do I mean by a crown jewel? Crown jewel would be one product line, one business line, one customer type or customer demographic, one segment within your business that is just far and away more profitable than everything else, right? Higher margin, easier to sell, more differentiated than the other products in your portfolio. Just the crown jewel, right? The golden goose of your business. Every business has one. And so I've got this quote from Charlie Munger. It's one of my favorites, where he talks about the sick business fix-up game. So, navigating a turnaround situation, and what he treats it like cancer surgery. And so what he says is, you've got to find whatever is sound. Sound meaning the jewel, right? The thing that's going well or going right, and then just stop doing everything else or cut all that away as much as humanly possible. So if sometimes you might have a business with 2 or 3 million in revenue, and if they were to stop doing the things that aren't working, right, or the bad things of that business, then maybe they would have this profitable smaller company, right? Maybe it's like $1 million or a $1.5 million revenue, better company, right, with that crown jewel in there instead of all the extra stuff. So this idea of stop doing what isn't making money or is worse, right? And just do more of what is working and is better. It's a really pretty interesting concept. So you'll find this as a kind of a common thread in a lot of turnaround books too. So finding that crown jewel, I think is really a good place to start, is to look at your business after you know how much time you've got to execute, then to say, hey, what are the best pieces of my company, right? What's that like one sub segment that's just really, really humming? Because you want to do more of that, right? Maybe that's the only thing you want to do at the end of the day to have a truly easy to run and super profitable company. So crown jewel, crown jewel. Pricing, it's got to be on the list because it's an easy lever to pull to some extent. So, if part of it could be just a plain vanilla equation, a formula, right? So this is my cost structure, and if I charge X from a pricing standpoint for my products, then that would put me into profitability, right? Like purely based on math. So you could do that math and see what that would require, right? Hey, if I charged this price for my products or services, that would make me profitable. Now the market might not bear that, but like you can do that exercise, try and understand, what would you need to do to pricing to get there, instead of just saying, oh, raise prices by 10%. Like that's not good advice. So you could check the formula and see what pricing gets you there. You can check and see where you stack up against competitors. So if your competitors are priced at a premium to you and you've got similar products or services, then yeah, you should probably adjust your pricing. Checking in with customers. So seeing, are you underpriced? Are you overpriced, right? You're just going to know where you stand from a pricing standpoint if you're trying to get to profitability. There's a really good Dan Kennedy quote. I'm not going to remember it off the top of my head, but something like, it's not a winning strategy to be the second lowest priced product in the market, right? So pricing is best you can. If you've got differentiation in terms of what you're offering, it's better to be at a premium price point than at a low price point. So winning on price when you're not the lowest cost producer is pretty freaking hard to do. So checking price, if you're trying to build that checklist of things to do to get to profitability, analyzing your pricing has got to be one of those items on the list. There are probably a handful of different ways to do it beyond just this, but you know, I think this is probably the easiest place to start that you can accomplish in a day or two's time. Cost structure. This might be the biggest and best one on the list because not enough people look at this like just ever, even for profitable companies. And you've got to do this before you start doubling down on growing revenue and just throwing everything you can at bringing in new business. But knowing your break-even point, you know, what is that break-even level? If you're $1 million in revenue and break-even is 2 million, don't you want to know that, right? Like, what a great place to start. Contribution margin, this is just a metric that doesn't get enough credit. This is way more valuable than gross margin, in my opinion, because contribution margin is factoring in all those variable costs. So you could have gross margin improving, right? Because you've got good economics for whatever product or service you're selling. But if your advertising expenses or your marketing expenses that are variable are getting out of whack or getting way inefficient, then your contribution margin could be going the other direction, even while gross margin's coming up. And that'll kill you at the end of the day. So know your contribution margin and then fixed costs, right? Nobody looks at their fixed costs. And if you want to find the best place to start from a cost cutting standpoint, like what costs should you start ripping out of your business, knowing your fixed costs is the best place to start, because that's the stuff that is constant dollar, doesn't change regardless of what revenue is. So knowing your cost structure is hugely important. This could be number one, but I think you've got to know what your timeline is before you can get to this point, right? And then this is where I would begin if I'm trying to figure out, hey, what's the cost cutting plan and what are we trying to attack here in this business? So, and as a shameless plug on cost structure, we do have an upcoming webinar. It's a deep dive webinar, so it'll be for our monthly subscribers, but you can buy and join that session. It's next Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, I want to say. And we will do this deep dive on analyzing your cost structure, calculating break even, calculating your fixed versus variable costs, like show you how to do it, pretty tactical stuff. So if you want to join that, just send us a note. I wanted to pull up a graph or a sample. Again, going overboard, but I love to look at the numbers. This is what I mean by looking at your cost structure. So this is a rolling 12-month look of a public company, right? And you see a graph here with their fixed cost base or close approximation to it. They're selling general and administrative. And you can see this period here that I've highlighted where it's nice, neat, flat over a pretty long time frame, right? That's like 3.5 years or so. And then the other line, which you see coming down, is their revenue line, right? So revenue's coming down, fixed costs are remaining flat and fixed, which is great. It's great. But if revenue's coming down, that means that gross margin's probably also coming down. And so this business is feeling it from a profitability standpoint. So this is just good information that if you can get it for your own company, because you can take that SG&A line and disaggregate it and get more detail on what's beneath that. Like, this is really where you'd start to say, all right, how can this company get back to profitability? They've got a base of revenue to work with. Now they just need to go unpack their cost structure to figure out what to do next. Going from 627 million in revenue back to 700 million may not be the right move. They might have a profitable 600 million revenue company or a profitable 550 million revenue company. They just need to unpack that cost structure to figure out what the playbook is from there. So nobody looks at their cost structure enough, in my opinion. Sales and marketing. Last, I save this for last because come back to that question I asked at the beginning, right? What's the best way to get there? You could either grow revenue, cut expenses, or increase cash flow. I don't think it's increased cash flow. I don't, because if you're trying to get profitable, sustainably profitable, cash flow, you can add cash flow without profitability, right? You can slow pay your vendors. You can play all sorts of games that will get cash in the door without actually achieving sustainable profitability. So you kind of need both. Growing revenue is also kind of a red herring because you can grow revenue unprofitably, right? Especially if you add more and more costs into your business at the end of the day. So the caveat to that, though, is there is usually a critical mass level in any business. That's why we want to know what break even is, because fixed costs are fixed and you can only eliminate so many of them, right? Like if you've got a warehouse that you're running and you're in it, you got a 5-year lease, or you got debt, and that debt doesn't mature for 5 or 6 years. you can't make those go away. You can't poof, cut them, right? So you've got to know what your cost structure is. And then once you have that in place, then you can start lining up and saying, okay, with this cost structure, what level of revenue do I need to hit to become profitable or at least break even, then profitable? That's when you start saying, okay, now I know what I need to know. Let's go throw everything else we've got at sales and marketing. In my opinion, I think at the smaller stages, you've got to do stuff that is, maybe not super scalable, right? So that's maybe the business owner picking up the phone every day, right? Or sending one-off messages every day, handwriting letters, things that become habit that may not be sustainable forever. But if your goal is just to get to that point and then maintain it, you need a baseline of revenue to be there. So if you're at 1.8 million and break even's 2 million, then really you might have to do some uncomfortable or not super scalable stuff to bridge that gap, right? So doubling down on sales and marketing, kind of the last leg, in my opinion, of the things to do. Like if you pull all those other levers, that might tee you up where this is just like a small tuck-in piece that gets you that over that last hump. So that's my quick little five item quick fix list. Company's not profitable, trying to get to profitability, or if you're bouncing around profitability and trying to get there, right? It's unpacking your situation, right? How much time do you have to execute? Can you build a full length plan or no? Do you need to just get in there and start acting fast, right? That's number two. We'll go back to the list and go back to it. Find the crown jewel. I think you got to know what the most profitable either item, segment, customer type, maybe it's a region, maybe it's a geography, right? Like density, like I think about a lawn care business. If you can get one neighborhood and you're bouncing from lawn to lawn and they're right next door to each other. So it's just knowing what that crown jewel is so that you can throw all your resources around that. Pricing, got to review pricing because again, it's a high margin, easy lever to pull. Cost structure is more than just break even. It's your whole cost structure. So look at your cost structure. Please just do it every quarter or at least twice a year or something. Know your fixed and variable, calculate your break even. Just you got to know these numbers. Even if you're already profitable, I think it's good to know that break even level and know those fixed and variable cost structures. So cost structure, break even should be higher on the list, but whatever, it's not. Double down in sales and marketing last. I think that's the last thing you do after you do all these other things. Okay, we pulled all the costs out that we can. We've modified our pricing. We know this is the product line to double down on. Cool. We did, that's the heavy lifting, right? Heavy lifting. Now we've got this one small piece left to get us over that hump and get us to profitability. That's when you throw your resources at sales, marketing, and bringing in the final pieces of customers. Ideally, the customers that are best for your business, right? So there it is. That's my quick fixed list. That's how I would approach it. We're just trying to be one size fits all advice, which is hard to do. So all of this is caveat with it's so situation dependent, right? It's dependent on the business you're in, the industry you're in, what your backstory is, what your history has been, all that stuff. But this is how I would tackle it. That's how I would tackle it. So with that, feel free to shoot a question if you've got it. Feel free to email us if you've got a question. Happy to take questions. Happy to look at your situation, right? If you want to propose some hypothetical, hey, this is what I'm dealing with, throw some thoughts at you. And then last, we've got a session that we're going to do a deep dive on unpacking a cost structure and taking a look at how to calculate all those things that we talked about. Really give you the playbook to say, look at your business, know your cost structure, figure all those things out. So if you're trying to get to break even, I'd highly recommend joining that. That's on Tuesday, next Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Just send us an email, info@profitmastery.net, and we'll send you details on how to get signed up for that. So thanks everyone for joining. Appreciate having you. Go get your business back on a path to profitability.